What's up, Jake's Garage? Today, we're working on the Mustang. All right, we're gonna try to make this reasonably quick video, as this isn't a really big project. Got my wife's 68 Mustang. One thing that always concerns me about this car is the best time to drive it is when it's beautiful, warm, and sunny. When it's sunny out, you cannot see these brake lights worth a darn. Today's drivers really stink. They don't pay attention to begin with. They're all distracted. Everybody knows that story. But what makes matters worse is these old cars don't have super bright taillights, nor do they have a high mount third brake light, which everybody gets used to seeing. You might even notice yourself when you're going down the road, if somebody's third brake light is burned out, it doesn't quite grab your attention the way it does when they all light up. So a couple things about these Mustangs is I always thought that there was 3 bulbs back there. There are not. There is 1 light bulb directly in the center and a big bucket that kind of distributes it between the 3 lenses. You can get kits that basically create 3 separate reflectors with 3 separate bulbs back there. That requires you to wire them all up, tie it all together, and then you have 3 bulbs in the light, which is fine. That sounds like a really good option. The other option is to go LED. I'm sure I could have dropped an LED into the light socket, but that still gives you the problem where you have a bright light source right in the center that has to radiate out to all 3 lenses. So my solution was to buy her a full LED light housing. So you can kind of see the difference now. I have one side done already. There's the factory, and then if you come over here, there's the LED. The one thing I don't like about them is it's a little bit brighter red, which I don't love, but this is all in the name of safety. I want people to be able to see her. I don't want her to get rear-ended. The kids ride in the car with her sometimes. As you all know, these old Mustangs, the gas tank is part of the trunk floor, and while I do plan to put one of those metal separators that helps like a firewall between the seats and the trunk, getting rear-ended in these things isn't exactly the best situation. So here we go. I'm going to show you how to put the passenger side in, and then I'm also going to show you the it's not even really pros and cons, but I'm going to explain why the hazards work right now, but the turn signals do not. And then I'm going to do a separate video showing you how to fix the turn signals. So before we get started, here's a quick side-by-side standard halogen on the left and the LED on the right. These lights do have a sequential feature. My wife wasn't into that. I'm not really into it either. I think just letting it blink like normal works fine. You can just really see, and it's not sunny out, it's very overcast today, but there really isn't a lot going on with that brake light. And again, with today's conditions on the road, you really got to have something that grabs people's attention. Those things are extremely bright at nighttime, and in the sun there will be less of an effect, a detrimental effect to that light versus the halogen. So that's kind of what they look like. And let's get started. Here's the kit we're working with. It's United Pacific 67 to 68 Mustang LED taillight kit. I don't know if there's a part number on here. Here you go. 110106. I got these from Summit. They were like 60 bucks a piece. Not only are these they work well, but they're probably one of the cheaper sets. They still give you exactly what you want. Essentially, all you're doing is taking the light completely apart, replacing the factory red plastic tail light housing with the LED housing. The reflector bowl and everything stays in place. You plug it in just like factory, and when you're all done, it works really well. So I'm going to try to get you set up at a good angle. We're doing this side. Tools you're going to need, very little tools for this project. You're going to need, I'm using a 9mm, but there's probably a better size. It's obviously not metric, being a 68, but it was the only deep socket I could find. And then I have an open end, but I probably won't need it on this side. Some electric tape, I'll show you what that's for. Wire stripper, show you what that's for. It's actually just there to clip the one end of the wire. These things say you need to run a wire up front for the brake switch. There's a lot of confusion on why. you can see the wiring diagram here. They want you to run the yellow wire all the way up, disconnect the existing brake wire, and run this wire. And it says doing this will disable the sequence once brake attention feature. Do not use this instruction if the vehicle is used for towing and trailer lights. I don't really understand what that is. Seems like a lot of people don't. All I know is without that yellow wire, this works as it's supposed to, and we're not using the sequential, so it doesn't matter anyway. So I'm not going to do it here. So no extra wiring is going to be done in this project. You can use your own judgment on that, but the last thing I wanted to do was run wires up front and disconnect factory wire. I'd rather just plug and play, which is how this is working. So, all right, first thing we're going to do is just remove all 6 of these nuts and studs. Sometimes the studs will come out. They're actually threaded into the chrome trim. If you didn't know that the chrome trim actually is what retains the whole assembly. Okay. So sometimes the wiring is a little like kind of tight. So you can bend that tab up, give yourself some slack. You can, next thing you can do is go ahead and pull the light bulb out of the socket and just kind of tuck that away. Get that out of your way. So I'm not really entirely sure if you can get this off without taking these off, but I've been trying and I couldn't seem to get it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these out. Just use a plastic handle or something and you just kind of walk these out. I'm weird, so I'm gonna keep these in order. There's one. You just gotta kind of get them started. And once you break the seal, they start to come out fairly easy. Huh, that bottom one was double nutted. Interesting. That could be why I can't get the stinking thing off. Any of the other ones? Anyone know why that one would be double nutted? Somebody being funny at the factory? There we go. They come out much easier when you take all the bolts off, guys. Now, when you go to pull these out, I am fairly certain these might have never been out before on this car. I don't know. That gasket can crumble a little bit. So it might be a good idea to go on like one of the Mustang part websites and just get new seals. I didn't do that. Mainly because this car is really never going to see rain, and also most of them came out good, so I was all right. So now that the seals are off, now you can start working on getting this off. And I think the way I did that was I just kind of came out front and just kind of pushed on the lens, and that sort of got it moving. And you can see on this one the wiring is really, on this one the rubber seal actually stayed in place. That usually comes out with the light, but it's stuck in there pretty good. So I'm just going to zip these out. There's 6 Phillip head screws in there. Just zip those out. Okay. Once you get those out, there is a gasket that goes on the back of the lens. We're just going to leave that alone for right now. And then you have several pieces here. At this point, you can grab your taillight, your new taillight. All right. Now, the new taillight is going to have a plug, and it's going to have this yellow wire. What I did in the other taillight, and I'll show you, and this is the only thing you need these wire cutters or clippers for, is on the back of this thing, there's a, it's all sealed, but I didn't want this wire just hanging out there with that exposed tip, so I just clip it. And then what I'm going to do is just take electric tape and just kind of tape it up. Something like that. Sorry for the bad framing. I clipped that yellow wire. I'm just going to tape it up and then get it in place. Little Jegs Garage tip when you're doing electrical. I will never claim to be the best electrical guy, but I have built several of my own harnesses, and I have no problem doing my own wiring. Get yourself good electric tape. If you go to Walmart, or if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, or if you go on Amazon and you buy whatever, 10-pack of electric tape, chances are it's going to not be very good. I always get Scotch Super 33, and then there's also a Scotch Super 80 or Super 88 that's a little bit heavier. But I love this stuff. It always seems to work well. It doesn't really get funky when it gets cold out. Sometimes the other tape will get brittle. But I love this stuff. It stretches, it sticks, it doesn't get gooey. And as long as you take your time and always cut the tape, don't pull and stretch it, you'll get really good taping results from doing that. All right, so we've got this taped up. What I'm going to do now is just stick it through the hole in the back of the housing, because you don't want to lose it. Oh, first thing I got to do is swap the gasket. Peel the gasket off. This is another one that you could probably get a new one. You can see this one's kind of split, so I'll eventually get a new one. But for now, this will be okay. It'll get us going in the springtime. So you can see even the new lights even fit in the little divots. The plastic housing of these lights almost seems like it's a copy of the original. It's pretty neat. So you want that wiring through the hole. And I need a third hand. It's actually easier if I'm not worried so much about the camera. But y'all can figure this out. It's pretty easy. Just get it all lined back up. Like so. Once it's together, try to hold it together so it doesn't slide around. And then slide it back in this frame. Same thing. Get it laid in there, but don't let it slide around. There we go. Kind of look through it. You can see all your holes are lined up. And then grab your screws and drop them in. Now I'm probably gonna get the screws started with the gun, but I'm not gonna run them home because this is plastic, and these are kind of funky screws. They have like one thread and then a stopper. I think the stopper is designed so that it tightens up the screw before breaking the plastic. It might be what it's for. So I'm gonna get them started with the gun until they touch, and then I'm gonna grab a manual screwdriver and just give them a snug down so that I'm not cracking anything. Make sure they're good. Okay, at this point, pretty much the hard work's over. You got your pigtails coming out. Let's move back to the trunk and put it back together. All right, installation's same as reverse of disassembly. Like I said, my gasket's still in place, so I'm gonna just kind of wiggle that back home. Make sure none of the wires are pinched under there. They never seem to go back in 100%. Like this was all flush there. And all I'm doing is pressing it right back where it came from. So there's also probably some slight dimensional differences between this new lens and that old lens. So maybe that has something to do with it being a little tighter all together. But at this point, I'm fine with that. The screws will kind of pull it together. So you just take your bezels, get them started. You shouldn't have to like really force anything, but if you get one of the studs in a little bit further than the other one, it'll combine. So then just back the other side out until you get them both started. There you go. Don't be surprised if some of these studs are bent when you get them out. On the other side, I had one so bent I couldn't get it back in. I had to straighten the stud. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna cut the camera off while I put these bolts on, and then I'll show you the final wiring, and then we'll see what it looks like. One thing to be aware of when you're tightening this down is as you tighten one pair, another couple are gonna probably get loose on you, because as it sucks in to the gasket, kind of pulls in. So you gotta kind of go back, go around a couple times. These don't have to be incredibly tight. Just get them snug down, get that meeting the body line like you did before, and you should be good. These lights have a switch on the back, and there's nothing here that kind of indicates what to do with that. But there's basically a switch right on the back, and it lets you set these, because you don't buy left or right, they're all the same. So you can set this one to be a left or a right turn signal if you're using the sequential. I didn't show video of it. This one is set just to the middle selection, which is non-sequential, which just makes it come on like normal. So as I mentioned before, we didn't really like the idea of running them sequential, so that's what I did. Just pay attention to that. If you get to this point and you forgot to mess with that switch, you're going to be pretty upset with yourself. So please don't forget. All right, now to finish up the install, you're going to take your original bulb out. That's gone. You're going to take your new plug, making sure to get the correct, just like you're putting a light bulb, make sure you get the correct post in the correct direction. You're going to very carefully push the wires in, because there is a sharp metal edge there, and then pop the socket back in place. There is a direction, I'm pretty sure. There's a bigger gap in the fingers on this side that corresponds to that little opening. Pop it in place. Make sure you push all your wires back where they need to go and move the little holders, and then that's it. You're done. It looks completely factory. There's no extra wires. Let's take a little peek, make sure everything works. Go in the car. Easiest way is just turn the lights on, turn the hazard flashers on, stand back, hope everything works. There you go. Now, that's it for the install of the taillights. The problem is going to be when you go to run your turn signals, the hazard flashers work, but the turn signals do not. They just stay on. That is an issue with load on the circuit. So the way your original flasher works is it's a thermal flasher, and it works based on the load on the electrical system for the lights. With halogen bulbs with a lot of draw, that load is registered and is able to make that relay click on and off. With the LEDs, you've taken enough load out with just this one bulb being out, that it can no longer do that. I believe the idea was also a safety function, so that if you lost a bulb, if one of these bulbs burned out, your turn signal light would stay on solid, and you'd know, hey, there's a problem with my turn signal system. I need to go check my bulbs. The solution to that is an electronic flasher. The electronic flasher looks very similar to the thermal, except for it's got some circuitry built in, but it should plug in pretty much the same way. And then also there's a ground for it, but we're not going to talk too much more about this. If you want to see me install this, which looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, tune into the next video that I post on it, and I'll show you how to take care of that. And it should be similar for, actually, there was a lot of differences in the years, but we'll get into that in the next video. So if you have any questions on the actual install of the taillights, feel free to post up below. Thanks for watching.